So our lead this hour coming from the tabloids. Yes, where the tabloids intersect with the NFL. Right? The romantic thriller that everyone's been yapping about. We've yapped about it. Every time I bring this up, people get upset. I want my football. I don't want to hear about some pop star. I don't want to hear about it. So the pigskin world has been all about the music world, the intersection of the two. So if you haven't been following the latest on this, and maybe not, the Chiefs have a player, you might have heard of him, he's on TV every 5 minutes, Travis Kelce, the tight end, who now says that the NFL is overdoing the hype train. They need to stop the hype train for Taylor Swift and his relationship with Taylor Swift. He said, quote, they're overdoing it a little bit for sure, especially my situation. Now, Kelce said that on his once fledgling podcast, which is now booming. All right, so let us discuss the question on this one. Why is Travis Kelce seemingly pushing back on the NFL marketing arm promoting his relationship with Taylor Swift? So I have Sheepshead Bay, underlying condition, and residency. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make some native Peruvian food for Inca Terror, who's off to the side. Because he wants his native food, but they don't really make it right here. Anyway, so number one. All right, so my theory is that Travis Kelce had a talking to. That people, whether it's in the Chiefs locker room or in his inner circle, that some feathers were ruffled around the NFL. Now, it could be because of the green envy, the jealousy, right? What are you doing? You're getting all this attention. Bad job by you. Regardless, nobody, and I spent minutes investigating this, nobody has profited more from this, whatever it is, with Taylor Swift than Travis Kelce. Like, Taylor Swift is such a big star. You don't need Travis Kelce to get promotion. But there's no such thing, and I learned this years ago, there's no such thing from too much publicity. Has there ever been a famous person say, we're getting too much publicity? We're getting, too many people know who we are. It's a real problem. But the NFL is testing those boundaries. They are, and it's like going under the big top right now, the NFL and Taylor Swift. It's fun for all ages. I don't know about all ages, but the pop culture media circus. It's a dog and pony show. Now, NBC, and I certainly would never rip NBC, but they cut away 17 times. They did the math 17 times to show the people watching Taylor Swift, show her watching a game that the people tuning in plausibly wanted to watch. So 17 cutaways on the Sunday Night Football broadcast. They also showed not one but two commercials for her movie, which is just a movie about her tour around the world. And this has fed the deep state conspiracy theory that this is a rigged deal, that this is all some kind of collaboration. There's some funny business going on. Now, people believe all kinds of conspiracy theories. This is kind of a fun one. And to feed that conspiracy theory, the NFL, clearly somebody at the NFL was offended by this, because here's how I know this. The NFL sent out a prepared statement. They've gotten so much pushback from people saying, wait a minute, you're really overdoing this. Bad job by you. They sent out a prepared statement. And here's what it said. I'm going to read it verbatim. The Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce news has been a pop culture moment. We leaned into in real time as it's an intersection of sport and entertainment. And we've seen an incredible amount of positivity around the sport. Close quote. But you know that an intern didn't write that. That's like a PR professional, right? The intersection of sport and entertainment. Pop culture moment. Yeah, those are all buzz terms. But for most people, listen, I'm not as into the story as I was. I don't hate the story like some people do. I bring up Taylor Swift's name, and you would think that I have said the most offensive thing you can possibly say. As I get these middle-aged dudes emailing me, what's wrong with you? They're very upset. Angry. But it has been oversaturation. I mean, it really has. I mean, it's just been too much. Kelce is the beneficiary of this. His podcast, we are told, is beating my podcast. I can't believe it. Shocking. The Ben Maller Show podcast and the Fifth Hour podcast dominating the download game.
Wow.
I know. He's become the pitch man to the stars. Travis is on television more than Flo from Progressive. But he doesn't do Progressive commercials. He's friends with that other guy, Jake, from State Farm, who has changed his appearance a lot in my life. Jake from State Farm. He has changed his appearance quite a bit. But the issue here's the issue for the NFL. I'm going to break it down very simply. Here's the issue for the NFL. They are not following the teachings of their most famous coach of all time, from Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn, Vince Lombardi. What's the most famous quote from Vince Lombardi? There's a lot of famous quotes from Vince Lombardi, but Vince Lombardi, the old coach of the Green Bay Packers, supposedly coined the phrase, act like you've been there before. One of his players was dancing after scoring a touchdown back in the 60s for the Packers, and Lombardi went over to him and said, hey, you got to act like you've been there before. Nowadays, of course, that would be abuse. Nowadays, modern society, the coach would be in trouble. But back then, it was like, all right, that's a good line. The newspaper guys picked up on it, and they ran with it, and all these years later, act like you've been there before. And the NFL is not acting like that at all. All right, now, page 2 here. Let's go to Cincinnati, where the Bengals, not the Bengals, the Bengals, their star quarterback, Joe Burrow, said this week he is extra motivated. Well, that's good to know. I guess he wasn't motivated last week when the Bengals took it on the chin. But he says he's extra motivated. He views the Cardinals game, that's who Cincinnati plays this weekend, says the Cardinals game is a must-win game. He said a couple of things. He really talked out of both sides of his mouth. He said he feels better than he felt after a game so far this season. He also said something totally different later on. So is Joe Burrow right, though? Is Joe Burrow correct about the Bengals being in a must-win territory situation heading into this weekend? So the answer is N+O. The answer is no. Now, I thought every game in the NFL must win. The problem here, all right, I know this. I'm going to be doing the gambling show later, Benny versus the Penny. I got to go record that later on Thursday. And I'm pretty sure the Bengal game will not be one of the featured games on the show. I don't know for sure. Maybe they'll push that in. I have no idea. But at this point, I'm guessing it's not. Because it's the Bengals and the Cardinals, and they're not good. But the problem for Burrow, he's got an underlying condition. That's the problem. The condition is called suck. He's bad. Right now, I bothered me. Burrow he's got a bad calf, and he's playing. You don't get credit for playing if you're not playing well. If you play hurt, but you're not doing the job, we don't give you credit for that. And it's clearly impacting, and he said it. He said the calf injury is still, even though he said he feels great, it's still impacting his ability to run, to move in the pocket, and that's the biggest thing. The Bengals star right now is the D word, not that D word, decoy. He is a decoy, is what he is, right? Easy to defend. Anyone with a basic Madden football video game knowledge on defense. Do you go 4-3 or 3-4? Doesn't matter. Everything's at the line of scrimmage. Everything is within 5 yards at the line of scrimmage. Child's play. It's easy to defend. All I know, I do the overnight show, I know how to defend Joe Burrow. He doesn't throw the ball downfield. He won't. It's 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, 5 yards in front of the line of scrimmage, period, hard stop. And even if Cincinnati, here's the problem, even if Cincinnati loses to Arizona, and there's a shot they lose to Arizona, if Burrow shows signs of life, there's still plenty of time. I'll be Benny Brightside in this. Even if the Bengals lose this week, if Burrow starts coming around, right, and getting in the kitchen, cooking a little bit, after this weekend, there'll be 70% of the NFL schedule. That's back in the napkin Maller mouth. They play 17 games. This will be game number 5. So there's 12 games to go. That's 70% of the NFL schedule. All right, final point. So we had a pair of additions and subtractions in the NFL on the transaction wire. The Denver Broncos, I was hoping Coop would be here so I could goof on the Broncos to his face, but he's not here. So the Broncos cut Randy Gregory, who probably not a household name. He's been around. He's had some decent years in the NFL. If you're a hard-o football fan, you know who Randy Gregory is. The Broncos tried to trade him. Nobody wanted him. And so it became, put him on offer up. Nobody took the offer. Then put him in the free section, and nobody took him there either. He asked to be released. He wanted a fresh start. Team tried to trade him, said, nobody wants you, so we oblige your wish. We're going to fire you. Now, simultaneously, the Chargers said bye-bye to J.C. Jackson. He was repackaged. Now, they didn't release him. He's headed back to the Patriots via trade. The LA AFC football team agrees to a trade, so he goes back to New England there, and they swap a 6th and 7th round pick in 2025, which seems like it should be many years down the line, but it's only a couple years away. And Jackson, he was with the Patriots, had big numbers with the Patriots. That's how he parlayed that into a massive bonanza to go out to the West Coast with the Chargers. Now, toss-up question. Bigger recent NFL bust, Randy Gregory in Denver or J.C. Jackson in L.A.? And I know we're splitting hairs here, but both are guilty of negligence, and also false advertising. But the arrow on this one is pointing towards J.C. Jackson. The arrow is pointing towards J.C. Jackson. He signed a 5-year, $82 million contract with the Chargers in free agency last year. He currently is running a residency in the doghouse of the NFL. Think about how bad J.C. Jackson must have been for the football guys looking at the All-22, watching the All-22 game tape. For them to think, this guy is so bad, he was a healthy scratch. They benched him for one game. The next game, he was a healthy scratch. Now, I was at the Charger game. I was a witness to the Chargers getting absolutely poleaxed by the Dolphins, and J.C. Jackson was out there a lot in that game, and then he also came back the next week and apparently didn't do any better. So that was that. He ends up, this is great. This is wonderful money. So the Chargers ended up paying him $38.5 million so far. He played 7 games. He got hurt also. He played 7 games, 7 games of employment, 1 interception, and a total of 18 tackles. And the Chargers end up with the dead cap hit of over $11 million this year, almost $19 million next year. And in Colorado, Randy Gregory, he earned $14 million last season for 6 games. How can I sign a free agent contract for 6 or 7 games, that kind of money? And the Broncos are going to be hit with a bunch of dead cap. And I'm a salary cap truther, so I say, who cares? I'm a salary cap truther. Just move some bonus money around, move some decimal points. That's what you do. That's what accountants do. That's why you hire a good accountant to make that all work.